Good morning, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sharon Henry, Sweets of Sharon on YouTube. Guys, it's a beautiful morning, very sunny. The light is so bright coming in at me. And it is a little bit warmer than yesterday. So I believe that things is going to warm up as we get in later today. So, guys, I'm just here to catch up with you what is going on. As you know, I'm very much into the economy and the tariffs that were imposed on both Canada and the Caribbean. So I have some development to share with you about how the economy is going since the tariffs. So as of April 7, 2025, Canada's economy is showing signs of resilience with inflation near the Bank of Canada's target range, moderating as expected, while the labor market continues to soften. Sorry, what does that mean? The labor market continues to soften is that unemployment is going up. We had a good um, unemployment rate. We were very good, low when it comes to unemployment, but it seemed like unemployment is going up because as I think Friday I saw the news where two auto companies when the people went to work in the morning, the doors were closed. So the tariff is really affecting the auto industry, as you would have suspected. So yeah. So yeah, we're feeling it in Canada, in Alberta. My son is in Alberta, and he said you can see that it's affecting the economy there because you see less shoppers in the stores. Even Walmart, where when you go to Walmart, a lot of people are in and out of Walmart. People are kind of slow down shopping, and the people that are shopping in Walmart are looking, going towards the marked items that is marked Canadian. They marked them by the maple leaf. So you will see the red maple leaf on Canadian products. And that is very funny because in Alberta, they are very much for America. At one time, America can Alberta wanted to be independent of Canada. I think so. You could check that out. So Canada, Alberta is really, when it comes to the tariff, every Canadian, those who are liberal, those who are independent, those who are other supports other party, you know, everybody's standing up together when it comes to getting back at America with the tariffs. So yeah, even people who were patriotic, because you have a lot of Americans live in Alberta, and there are Albertans who are American minded, but everybody is standing up against the tariffs. Even in Ontario, I live in Ontario, and the Walmart is not far from me, and I can see the difference in my Walmart that the Walmart parking lot used to be full. When you go to Walmart when it passed 10, you, especially on the weekend, you couldn't get parking. You have to be driving round and round. Now you see the big difference that people are slowing down when it comes to shopping. people are saving their money because everything get more expensive. And as I said, you go in the stores and you can obviously see Canadian products because people used to go in the store when this just happened and read before they buy to make sure that they're not buying American products. So, yeah. All right, so our economy, the Canadian economy, is good, is doing well. Our GDP is basically the same. There's no big changes when it comes to the economy, and the interest rate is going down. It was going down before the tariff, so it's still going down. It's a buyer's market, so if you're buying property, it's your market. All right, still, but yesterday, not yet, yeah, I think Friday, um, the tariff were held out. So Mexico and Canada were excluded from the other tariffs. I don't know what's going on there. Sometimes you hear they're going to be, and then you hear that it's withdrawn. And so I don't know the politics about that one. But the auto industry is still hit with the 25% tariff. So that is where we're feeling the hit. So I'm looking at the Caribbean. So in the Caribbean and most of the North American countries, like Latin America and so on and so forth, their overall tariff is 10%, but except Guyana, which is 38%. And then you have some other countries that are lower, even lower than Guyana, which is 18, and 17, Latin America. But the Caribbean is 10%. So for Jamaica, for their economy, there isn't much change because after the hurricane that we had, the last hurricane that we had, we were suffering when it comes to agriculture. Food are expensive, very expensive. And yeah, we see inflation in the country. So it's basically the same. And I suspect that it's going to get worse because of the tariff. Maybe it's not starting to show yet. All right, so those are just some information on how we're doing because of the tariff. Now, what I really want to talk about is that I believe that the American tariffs on the Caribbean, is, let me get rid of this call, on the Caribbean is a way of like weaning the Caribbean off of the dependency of America. And why do I say that? My well-respected prime minister, that's what I call her, Mayor Mosley. I call her my prime minister. I listened to her yesterday because I listened to almost every speech that lady have ever, press conference. I love that lady. And yesterday I was listening to, and I suspect that she made that speech maybe last week or before, I don't know. But she's basically saying that, yes, we need to be self-reliance. We need to be off the American grid when it comes to depending on them for tourism and other exports or imports. Too long have we depended on America. And I believe that the tariff is a way to help us to be more independent and more reliable on ourselves. The Caribbean is, as we talk about it already, is much more. It's beach, yes, it's sun and food, water, but it's much more. We have bright and intelligent people in our countries that can run our country in a way. Agriculture, we have our agricultural ministers that needs to put better better ways of running our agricultural sector, implementing better ways of running our agricultural sector. I remember when we used to ship sugar cane or sugar to other countries. We thought that we could not do without the sugar industry. I wish we still had the sugar industry, but it was so much trouble for the farmers who would cut their canes, put it at the roadside for transportation to come and take their cane to, I think, Spanish Town, to the mill where it was supposed to go to be processed. So, hey, because of the hardship that the sugar farmers used to go through, now there are no dependence on sugarcane in Jamaica. But what I noticed, most of the sugarcane lands in Jamaica are laid waste. They're not being farmed. They're bushed up and nobody is farming because the country is not putting importance on farmers. They're not helping small farmers to grow and to produce food to feed our country and or to export. We have a lot of lands, fertile lands in Jamaica that is laid waste. And that is one part of the Jamaican industry that the Jamaican government need to build on. All right. Tourism is, as she said, a vulnerable sector. We depend too much on tourism for our country to run, for the growth of our country. We have to find a better way. I'm not saying that we cannot, for sure, do without tourism, but we must not be so dependent on tourism to survive as a country. Okay? So, how do we not depend on tourism to survive in our country? Honestly, I don't have all of the answers, but I know that Jamaica is dependent on American tourists a lot. We have tourists coming from all over the world. We have British tourists, we have, European tourists. What we need to do is market our tourism sector better to fit European visitors, even visitors from the other Caribbean islands, even ourselves. We need to make it more affordable locally for our people to benefit from our resources, tourism resources. And we need to have more access from Africa to the Caribbean and from the Caribbean to Africa. So, talk about dependence on America. The Caribbean people need to start to go to Africa, need to start to visit Africa. But Africa has to make it more accessible for the Caribbean to come, and the Caribbean have to make it more accessible for Africa to go to the Caribbean. So, in other words, what am I saying here? That all of the countries, both Africa and the Caribbean, that is dependent on America and Europe, have to unite for us to have better access to and from both continents. Okay? there are many African students that are coming from Africa to North America for degree and vice versa. America is also traveling to other countries to get their degree. So there must be a way for a balance. And, the amount of money that I see Africans and the Caribbean people pay to get degree in Canada, um, America, or Europe. I think Europe is cheaper. The Caribbean students are better. It's cheaper to get education in Europe, but in America and Canada, it's very expensive. So we have to find a way how to um, get to places that help us more economically. All right. I read up on something, but I'm not reading now. I'm talking from memory from what I read. So, guys, yes, what we are calling on is for self dependency. We see where the Americans that were living in Florida, a lot of them are coming back to Canada. They are coming back to Canada. Why were they in Miami, in Florida, in the first place? Because they needed a warm place to go in summer, in winter, sorry. So, all of these Canadians that came back and that are coming back and decided that they will no longer even tourist in America, these people, Canadian people, are looking to go somewhere. What about Jamaica? What about Grenada? What about Guyana? What about, the other Caribbean countries, Trinidad, Tobago, and all the other Caribbean countries, Barbados, St. Lucia. Yeah. So the Caribbean has to market themselves away from America, right? The Caribbean tourism sector has to come to Canada to make it, to come and say, listen, we need you. We want you to come to our countries. I am not one for selling foreigners land. I spoke about it. I spoke against it, selling foreigners land. But too bad. It happens in Jamaica. Jamaica is no longer, their land is no longer their sovereignty. So anybody can buy land in Jamaica. So I believe that because it's like that already, we can invite people, Canadians and other Europeans, to come to the Caribbean to live, you know. However, there are certain hiccups and certain problems that we have in the Caribbean that we have to clean up. So we are going to clean up ourselves and we're going to come and market ourselves. And these things can build our economy. Build our economy so that we're not dependent on America or on anybody for that matter. You know, Jamaica has gained independence. Jamaica is one of the first country that gained independence, that took independence. Because listen, don't believe that we were given independence by the British. No, we fought for our independence. And when they left us with nothing, you know. As my husband said, if it was feasible for them to stay, maybe they wouldn't go. But for a while, it wasn't feasible for them to stay. So we fought for it, and they gave it, they ran, they leave it. And it's been a while. So if we are being independent for so long, why are we still here? Like, why are we lagging behind? How come we are not far ahead than here? What are we lagging behind for? Because we thought and we have this thinking that we cannot do it on our own, that we need America to help us. We have to be climbing on the back of America to get ahead. No, you know, Prime Minister Mia Motley said that our food are better, you know, our people are bright and intelligent. We have heroes, that our young people can look up to. We have to shape our economy, shape our country, so that our young people can see it feasible to stay, especially the ones who have education. Even if they go for education abroad, come back, you know, to work in the country, to invest in the country. We have some of our brightest people still in America, giving their service to America. You know, Jamaican government, Caribbean government, make it interesting so that they can come back. That's what I'm saying. So, while I don't want to stretch this out, I am just saying that we have a lot of potential. Jamaica, the Caribbean. You know that Trinidad and Tobago is not dependable on tourists? They're doing well without tourists. But, of course, they have resources like oil and I believe tar. They have those resources. So they're selling all those oil and those things to other countries, and they're depending on themselves, not on America. So Jamaica, we can find our important resources to wean us off America. I don't know if I'm making sense. Naturally, we need to go back to farming. We need to be feeding our own people and stop depend on goods from other countries to feed our people. The agricultural industries or the agricultural sector must be revamped and built so that we can feed our people, because our food is what can help us. Farming is very important to the economical growth of a country. All right? And encourage our children that when they go abroad and get their degree or get their degree in our country, to stay. Make it feasible, look good for them to stay. We would be growing more better people and not criminals, right? Because when young people leave school and don't have anything to do, they will go to crime, they will go to all kind of other stuff that they can get rich quick, get money quick. And that is the downfall of any country. When our youth is idle, they will find bad things to do, and our country will be filled with criminals. All right? So let us do better in, being self-resilient. And that is the message that Mayor Mosley, my dear Prime Minister, is really talking about. Every day, almost, she have a press conference, a motivational press conference to drive us, to encourage us, the Caribbean, to be self-reliant. All right? So let us listen to her, because unfortunately, we don't have a strong leader in the Caribbean except her. So listen to her. I implore other Caribbean leaders to listen to her. And the Caribbean should unite around each other to build the Caribbean hemisphere. Yeah. And Africa, I don't know. Africa is too divided. Africa is so divided as a continent. I don't know what to say to Africa, but I'm looking to Burkina Faso, young Ibrahim, what he's doing. He's doing a fantastic job. And I believe other African countries are following him, taking the lead. And he himself is too a motivational speaker and a leader, a young leader who the rest of Africa can look up to. Big African countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and those countries, they are a force on their own, and they know what they have to do. The leaders just have to just love the people and work for the people and not for themselves. That's just what those bigger African countries have to do. But Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, is a fantastic guy, a strong young leader that young people will look up to and find strength, with what he's doing. So we have hope, we have hope. Africa and the Caribbean, we have hope. Let us unite, man. Let us get back to uniting around each other. We're coming from far, but we are lagging behind, I've seen us fought for independence and get our independence. But what are we doing with it? We are lagging behind. We lose focus, and we need to be refocused. That's just it. All right, so thank you guys for listening, and remember to like the video, share the video, and subscribe to Sweets at Sharon on YouTube. Bye and peace out.